Hey everybody. So as I say a lot of times, I know it's been a while since I posted on here. I feel like I've said that so many times. So cliche. And I'm probably going to stop saying it because that's just kind of the nature of this channel. I've been thinking about it a lot. I'm really not trying to make money on YouTube or make this my main career or attract a ton of followers or anything like that. Honestly, I don't know if I have the balls to be a YouTube creator, like to be that well known with all of the hate that I see a lot of people get. I really just want to talk about my experiences on here, share updates, and talk about some things that benefit me mental health wise that it could possibly help other people, or at least help somebody feel like they're not alone. I've been getting more comments lately on a video that I did about my anxiety and how it makes me think I'm gonna die. And I've had comments on there from people who understand, they feel the same way, or they can relate, or they've even thanked me for making the video. And that really means a lot to me. That's really what my goal is for this, really, because I know when I'm really struggling, I want to feel like I have somewhere to turn to where people can relate to me, or someone can validate my feelings and be like, yes, I felt that same way too. And, no, it's not normal, or no, it's okay to not feel okay about it. It's okay to reach out for help. So I guess I just wanted to talk a little bit about where I am lately. So first of all, a lot of amazing things have happened in my life lately. I got married. I think it's been a few weeks now, and we went on a honeymoon to London, which was absolutely amazing. It was one of the best. It was just, November of this year has just been pretty much the best month of my life. And I'm just really excited about all the changes that have happened. Ending the honeymoon was hard. Coming back was hard. It always is for me, though. Vacations are always really hard at the end of them, as I'm sure they are for most people, but they tend to be really hard for me because I tend to end up feeling very, very low, very, very let down at the end, and getting into this state of kind of just like hopelessness and feeling like I'm walking through mud trying to get back into life and work and functioning as a normal human being. And so despite all these amazing things that are happening in my life, I've been struggling this year, or maybe in the last few months, more than maybe the rest of the other times in my life, with anxiety and anxiety related problems. I've talked about this a little before, either on here or on the podcast that I'm a co-host on, the Voices of Mental Health podcast. We've talked about this kind of stuff before too, but anything that has to do with my health is a huge anxiety trigger for me. I am terrified of having something wrong with my body that's going to be fatal. And it's a weird preoccupation. It's a weird obsessive thing that my mind gets into. I get into these thoughts that feel uncontrollable, and they feel intense, and they feel obsessive. And one of those has been with my heart health, and I've talked about this. I'll just briefly mention, I have gone to the doctor before, and my blood pressure has been really high. But times when I've checked it at home, when the doctor has recommended that I check it at home and log it, it's been within the normal range. So basically I have what's called a white coat hypertension, which is where you just get really, really worked up at the doctor's office. And when you're worked up, your blood pressure is high, your blood pressure goes up. So it's like an artificially high blood pressure. The thing is that even when I check my blood pressure here at home, and the more often I do it, I cannot get myself to calm down. I try to work through my thoughts. I try to take deep breaths and breathe deep and calm myself down. and I can't. So it's hard for me to get a good gauge of that. So anything related to, and I've started having heart palpitations for the first time, I think the first time in my life this year. If I ever had them before, it was like few and far between, but now I have them often, almost on a daily basis, and it terrifies me. Rationally, I'm pretty sure it's related to anxiety. Pretty sure it's like purely anxiety fueled, but my panic attacks, and that's another thing that I've been dealing with this year, I had never had like panic attacks like I've had this year. I always heard people talk about them. I actually, back in college, I was put on an antidepressant because I was talking about this feeling I had of, I was waiting for something small to happen in my life, but I was so anxious, and I didn't realize what was going on at the time, but I was so anxious that I was pacing around the room. I couldn't sit still. I was feeling just like, I couldn't calm down, and it was a panic attack. It was just a version of a panic attack. But this year, I've had the kind that I've had other people describe, where they are just laying in bed, or they're sitting somewhere and their heart just starts going crazy, or they feel this just grip of panic, of like cold panic, or you feel like you're just going to lose your mind and you have to just breathe through it. It's awful. It's terrible. And those are just things that have come up this year that I never dealt with before, and it's scary. It's very scary. And I have seen a primary care physician, although I think I'm gonna find somebody new. I just don't think the person that I saw was quite, I think I need to look for somebody I feel more comfortable with. And the prospect of going to the doctor, again, that causes me so much anxiety, and it's even hard for me to admit it, because to myself, I tell myself that's so silly, you got to go to the doctor, but it's like, it takes so much for me to just go, and then when I'm there, I know that they're going to check my blood pressure, and I know it's going to be high, because I'm so worked up. And I try meditation, I try all these things, but anyway, the point is, I have a psychiatrist that I see who's amazing and listens and has helped me, like I've mentioned before, has helped me with my ADHD a lot. I do have a medication I take for that when I have work to get done, and that has helped me tremendously. It's not like always a daily thing. It's just as needed to get my work done. But yeah, so I've seen doctors, probably not as frequently as would actually help me, which is something I need to work on. But I was walking my dogs the other day, and I was thinking, like, because one thing that I have found that helps me is to tell myself to zoom out. I'll like literally say that to myself, like zoom out. Another thing I say, I will like physically, like out loud say to myself, be present now. And somehow that like kind of, it's almost like flipping a switch, and like it allows me to just kind of stop and just be aware of what's around me. That one helps when I'm like distracted, or I'm all up in my head and I'm out doing something. It kind of helps me notice my surroundings. The problem is that sometimes, even when I become more present, it's like I become more aware of my anxiety and how I feel, which is even scarier, because I want to run away from that feeling. I want to distract myself from that feeling. I have a blog post that I've written about meditation and how it makes me more anxious sometimes, and that's why. Even though I think overall it is very beneficial for me. But sometimes just the act of sitting down to meditate can cause you so much anxiety that it's like to get past that barrier, to get there to that place, and then do it for a few days, because it usually takes a few days to really start helping, is incredibly difficult. And so that's one thing, though, that has helped before. And then yesterday I was just thinking, like, just telling myself, like, just be and zoom out, meaning when I'm really overwhelmed, when I'm feeling anxious, or when I'm feeling depressed, I'm all right here and right here and right here, you know, my gut. Like I'm just all consumed with me and what's happening in my brain, the racing thoughts, the obsessive thoughts, the things that just keep spiraling. And it's like, how do you stop those? How do you just stop them? And sometimes just zooming out and trying to look at a bigger picture and think like, I am just one person in this entire world, in this entire universe. There's so much more going on, and how I'm feeling right now, the panic that I'm feeling. For one, it's, you know, it's just a feeling. It's just my emotions. It's just my mind. It doesn't mean that I'm actually going to die, or I'm actually going to lose my mind, or there's actually something catastrophic that's going to happen. And just kind of helps me like look around at my surroundings and remember that there's more going on. That can sometimes help. And then just telling myself to just be, like I try to just like almost, it's gonna sound weird, but it's almost like remove myself from myself and just kind of, it sounds so weird probably, but like, it's almost like, what if you could just drift out of your body for a second and just look at yourself and just like, be like, it's okay, like just calm down. Obviously, if anyone who's dealt with anxiety knows that just telling yourself to calm down does not actually help. But you know, just like, just realizing that like, it's just a feeling, like you can just be, just, because that's the hardest thing for me. That's why meditation can be so incredibly hard for me. Even though I do practice mindfulness, all those things, it's almost like I have to, because it's so incredibly hard for me to just stop and just be, to just observe things around me without needing to have an opinion about them or needing to react to them. I'm very reactionary. Something happens, I got to react to it right away. Or something, I have a bad thought, I react to it right away, and then it just causes the snowball. So trying to just be and just be aware, but not react. I think that's really the main thing, is not reacting, just being in my body. If I'm out in nature, just looking around, just experiencing it without having to do anything. It's one of the hardest things ever. But the more I work on training myself to do that, I found it helps. The problem is that it's quite hard to continue. So yeah, so those are kind of some things that have been helping me. But other than that, I'm honestly really considering trying a small dose of something I used to take before, which was fluoxetine, which is the generic name for Prozac. I remember taking it in college. This was probably like 8 years ago or something. And the problem is that I was afraid of taking medication back then. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. So I was not consistent with taking it. I would take it for a while, and then it's the classic thing. I would think, I'm feeling better, or I'm okay, I can handle this without, I don't need medication. Because to me, needing medication was like giving in and needing a crutch. And to me, that was weak back then. And rationally now, I know that can be a dangerous way to think, for one thing, and it's just not, it's not accurate. It doesn't make you weak to get something that's going to help you. But I still have that belief underneath that I have to work through in myself. And, but basically when I did used to take it, I do remember just having moments of being able to, like something would happen to me. Because irritability is something I struggle with a lot when I am feeling really overwhelmed, depressed, anxious. I get irritable so fast, and it's like I can't. And I remember when I was taking the Prozac, I could just, something would happen that would normally just make me like immediately react like uncontrollably. It's like this uncontrollable feeling. You're just so irritable because there's so much going on in here. It's like there's just not actual voices, but it's like chatter in your head like all the time. And you just want it to go away, and you just want to not deal with other things. So when something annoying happens, it's like you almost just snap. Anyway, so I remember the medication, or at least I remember times when I was taking it, that would happen. I would just be able to, I wouldn't have such an intense reaction to it. It's like I would just I would be able to laugh it off, or I'd be able to laugh it off basically. And there's very few times in my life that I've really been that zen. Other times it has been when I've been really in like a good like flow with my work, and it's been at a level that's not too overwhelming. And when I'm doing meditation, I was also doing yoga during that time in college, I believe. So that could have played a part too. But I feel like since I can remember that so significantly, maybe I should give it another shot. Maybe I should see if it helps me, because I have an amazing life. I have an amazing life. I have supportive people at every turn. If I reached out to them, they would support me, you know. And it's like I shouldn't be feeling the way that I'm feeling. It's like there's something else that's going on. It's like my brain literally just does not always cooperate. It's really hard to describe, but I've given this a lot of thought. And I think I just think like we don't live in a perfect world. Humans are not perfect. There's so many things about our current world, or our world, you know, always probably, and being human, that is not 100% perfect. Things go wrong in our bodies all the time. And you know, maybe some of us just need a little extra help. Maybe our brain just doesn't fit with the way that our world is, or the demands of our world. And, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with getting help when you need it, or trying out things that could help you. I used to always appeal to the natural thing, you know, you stick with natural. Like, I used to take such pride in not needing medications. And I do think there's a point where, you know, that we can do things that are natural to help ourselves, like, you know, eating nutritious foods, paying attention to our diet to see that we get, you know, the nutrients that we need. You know, on the flip side of that, there's becoming too obsessive with that, which is not good for your health either. Exercising, taking time for mindfulness, you know, recognizing when you need a break from work and things like that. Absolutely. I think that, you know, there is a problem with being too quick to turn to medication for something if you aren't taking care of yourself in the best way that you can. Now, there's different ways of that too, because it's what if you have an incredibly stressful life and you're so interwoven with different things that you can't easily just like take it easy. You know, you have to work through different things, or you need some help in getting through things before you can, you know, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like, I just think there's also another point though to the fact that sometimes we can do everything in our power to feel normal and to feel good, and sometimes we just still need help, and that's okay. My gosh, that's so okay. I mean, isn't the point of this life to you know, have fulfillment, to feel happiness, to like what we do, to give love to others and receive love from others? And shouldn't we focus on, if there's something that's going to help us do that and the pros outweigh the cons, shouldn't we consider it? So that's kind of what I've been thinking through. This video is probably a little all over the place, but most videos of mine are because I always go on tangents and there's always just so much in my brain. But that's kind of a little bit of what's going on with me and what I'm thinking through. So I'll probably do an update on this if I do end up deciding to try medication for my anxiety. And I do think that I struggle with mild depression, at least mild. It's just something that I've never really thought myself. But if I could describe the way that I feel day to day at certain times for no good reason, I think that I need some help. So that's something that I'm thinking through, and I'm considering talking to my doctor about very soon. So maybe I'll do an update on that. Let me know if you're watching this and you can relate, or if you have had similar experiences and something helped you, something didn't. we're all different. So, you know, one thing that works for somebody may not work at all for the other person and vice versa, but I'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions for me or anything that you want me to talk about, feel free to leave a comment and I will consider it. And I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.